Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity. Starting the radio show right now. Hello, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're going to be talking about, are we becoming numb to trauma? There's so many things going on in the world where 50 years ago, these things weren't happening, or at least they didn't know about them, or, the typical leave it to Beaver, things like that. Wives stayed home, dinner was late. Oh, how could they survive that traumatic experience? Things like that. But things have gotten to the point where we see things on television which almost make us laugh a little bit when there's some hiccups. We're going to show some clips of some things that bad gone wrong, but then there's some things that are hidden behind closed doors, that are hidden in with children, and that are hidden within our society as a whole, and then globally as well. And people aren't talking about them enough. People just flip the channel and I hear so many times that they don't want to watch the news because it makes them sad. Before we get too much into it, because I have wonderful guests here, I want to say hi to Ed at Tan Talk Radio.
And happy Friday to everybody.
What's going on, Ed? Morning.
Howdy.
How are you doing, Ed?
I'm doing all right.
So we got LP here, Larry and Albert Grieves, and some famous or wonderful, famous, and well-known podcasters and bloggers and authors, and not only that, but are standing up here as professionals as well. It's not that it matters. So, but Albert's a lawyer, so to speak, talking about trauma. LP's a paramedic, first responder, things of that nature, where it stands out a little bit more when it's people that you wouldn't expect walking by a street or in a business meeting, that they've been witnessed or experienced or exposed to some things horrific and terrible. For some reason we think that doesn't happen to people of a certain stature, right?
Right.
That's right.
Isn't that kind of the common thing? These
Mhm.
things don't happen like in poor societies or things like that. Sadly, it happens to more than you would expect. More common than not, when clients come into my office, they've experienced some sort of post-traumatic stress, whether it's incest, child abuse, near-death experience, um, being married to the wrong woman for several years. It's for you, Ed. I was just kidding.
Hey, I'm in that boat too, Ed. That happened to me
See
too,
that?
twice.
I was on Dr. Phil because of it.
I knew I should have ducked out for that comment. Felt it coming.
Ed didn't even catch on. He's just like, like,
Mhm.
yep, that one too.
Well, like I'm the only one that's been divorced. Come on.
No, it was just kind of just.
At least I've only been
popped that in.
divorced once. I can hang my hat on that.
Sorry, LP.
I don't. Let's not put shame on people that have been divorced more than.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying,
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it's not sticking around just because of some sort of stigma on that. And get out of the abusive
Right.
relationship. Get out of a
Right.
bad marriage. Get out of somebody that treats you bad or isn't there for you.
Right.
So, anyway, what our topic is today is: are we becoming numb to trauma? And we have we're on live, and you're welcome to call in at 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and please say hi to Ed when you do. So I'm going to try to briefly describe my two guests in case you haven't seen them before. Larry Penton, CEO, managing partner, founder of his career, where he started Penton Pending Consulting Solutions. He's been a professional with an ITIS, providing multi-level corporate support in several areas. What does the abbreviation HW and SW mean, Larry? Catches me
Hardware
out.
and software.
Okay, hardware and software.
I did IT stuff for 20 years before I got into EMS and Fire, and that was in 2006. And I retired in 2020 after being on the front line as a COVID medic in my hometown of St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, this works even better. So welcome to Moments of Clarity, Larry Penton and Albert Grieves. Albert, you started off, give us a short bio of you.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm a former foster youth. I grew up in care, graduate valedictorian from Lincoln University. I was a police officer for several years with the Jefferson City Police Department. I became a litigator for child welfare in the state of Missouri. And then since that time, I provided training both for that agency, the Missouri Office of Prosecuting Services, on child abuse, neglect, and domestic violence issues.
I just want to give a bell for both of you.
Thank
you for your service. Wow.
Yeah, we're covering the gamut on first responders, EMS, fire, police, and Albert and I have a mutual friend in common. One of my former work partners, she's an EMT and she works for Child Protective Services, and that's how they met. And so she linked the two of us together, and we got a number of things that we're working on as former first responders, even though we're not riding in a squad car. I'm not on the ambulance or a fire truck anymore. We're still in that foxhole. And that's why we're having this conversation about these traumas that we see in breaking news stories. And it's a recurring thing that we've talked about on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany before. I'm glad that Albert is joining in on this conversation because he'll be able to talk more from the law enforcement perspective. I'll provide the EMS perspective, and Tiffany, being the host, she's going to provide the mental health component because, again, we are becoming numb to this
I'm a
trauma.
licensed mental health counselor.
That's right.
Just because I'm the host doesn't mean that I have complete control, right, Albert?
Right. Yeah. We know that. Yeah.
So in previous shows, LP seems, since he's the host of his own podcast, seems to be like, we're going to go to break. And I'm like, are we?
Hey, you brought me up well. That's all I'm saying.
The licensed professional here, but and hopefully the host, but we'll see how that goes. You can't. It's hard to be the guest when you're the host. Usually, I get it. Inside joke. It's fun. Okay.
That's a great topic today because I think with social media, like being at everyone's fingertips, especially at younger ages now, be it crime or domestic violence or child abuse, we see so many stories. We just learn how to shut down and turn it off. And because of that, we're not putting a great enough emphasis on trying to prevent those types of issues. We just turn a blind eye to it.
Right. I want to show something that, just to start off a little bit lighthearted, but that I'm sharing my screen the right way, but it was a clip from caught on camera recently. So, Larry, if I just hit share screen, it'll show the screen?
Yes.
All right. But this gentleman apparently went to rob a store with a cardboard box on his head, and it went wrong. The box fell off. So when we're numb to trauma, I wonder if years ago, before so many bad things, school shootings, we would say, oh my God, that is awful that he tried to rob the store. And as I see different news captions, it went from $80,000 worth of merchandise to 30 to 15, but still, I kind of want to show this. And for you listening, at least you can just listen to the news clip if it does this. Let's see. Am I sharing it right?
Yep.
Okay. Man's in her store.
Pretty bizarre scene here. A new video shared by Miami Gardens business owner shows a thief stealing phones while covering his head up with a cardboard box. The surveillance video captured the robbery around 4 Saturday morning. It happened at I Repair Tech, which is located on Northwest 183rd Street. At one point, the clumsy culprit even drops his disguise, revealing his face just before he leaves the store. The owner tells us the thief took 19 iPhones and $8,000 in cash, doing a total of $15,000 in damage. The suspect was...
Now, if you pause there, the box looks like it's possibly from his house, and his address is there too. Like he took it from home.
Later spotted in the area around 5:30 Saturday afternoon and arrested.
Now, what is the world coming to today? Just saying. How do I stop sharing the screen? Anyway.
Maybe inflation prevented him from getting a better disguise. I don't know.
I mean, so when I first...
It wasn't a fitted box. This thing would have fit 3 pairs of shoes or 4. It was not a little box, and there was an address on the side.
And he lifted the box, showing his face.
Yeah.
No, if it accidentally flipped back.
Look, I'm not giving people...
Find humor in this. I mean, okay, but let's backtrack a little. The store owner went through all that. These are things that are traumatic that we shouldn't have to go through in our society. They were almost robbed and traumatized by this man, and then he resisted arrest too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whatever. But to be the store owner and be violated like that, and it's almost like having your house broken into. You're being violated. Someone's going to steal all your merchandise, which is your livelihood, and he didn't even have the courtesy to wear a tight-fitting mask. Luckily they caught him, hopefully the store owner had insurance, and luckily they had a surveillance camera. But the trauma that it did to them, we're watching this, and I'm guilty as charged. I'm like, whoops. And even the news broadcaster, she said he was clumsy, and they made fun of the address being on the side. But let's take a step backwards and think about what it did to that family, whoever owned that shop, and then, you know what I mean? So are we numb to trauma where it's almost like, oh,
Well,
another
I think
happened, this
the
happened,
way that we're able to see
the
this,
box fell off. You know what I mean? Do you know where I'm getting at?
Yes.
I think the way that we're able to see this online is to the point of we're getting numb, because normally we wouldn't be able to see a clip like this. It wouldn't be able to go viral. But there are so many clips like this that go viral. I mean, LP's seen all kinds of stories in his line of work. I've seen it in mine as well. You know, this is a good day for law enforcement because they can close the case out pretty quick. It's really unfortunate for the store owner because they were totally violated. This is their livelihood. This is what they used to provide for their family. And so it's demoralizing to them. But we see these types of things all the time because of social media. And because of that, we get numb. We become callous to it, and we start cracking jokes and stuff like that. And I'm guilty just like you.
Funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. It is, but it still hurts those people that are impacted.
Right. However, I mean, I don't like to call people stupid ever, but that was a dumb idea. Like,
But LP, I think you'd agree. We've seen a lot of stuff like this. I mean, it's not. I mean, maybe the box itself is unique. We've seen a lot of other things like that.
Yeah.
Or someone posting a selfie of them robbing a store, things like that.
LP's just shaking his head. Are you serious? If you guys have feedback, 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. Call in and join our live discussion. There's so many things going on today in the world today, and 866-826-1340. They that we want to talk about a lot of them, and then we want to make light of them because it's a lot to soak in, and then it's constant coming at us. So eventually we become desensitized to these things because, oh, it's another school shooting. It's not just another school shooting, you know, it's a horrific school shooting. I wish people would stop and being copycats and find something else to do. Like, seriously. I mean, when's it going to end? And not only that, it's old. Like, all right already. I don't know. It's just, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest. 866-826-1340. But that's why we're becoming numb. It's all over the place. It's happening. And then this, for example, that one example that we used didn't even take the time to mask himself the right way. Like, it's so reoccurring. People just think that they can just get away with stuff, and then we are laughing about it, but because it is funny. I mean, oops, what a klutz. But at the same time, it's still a robbery where they could have changed someone's livelihood.
Yeah, it could have been all bad.
He changed his own too.
Maybe the owner was underinsured, and so they're not covered for a lot of that loss. Cash is always really difficult to prove that you actually have it. That's probably going to be a write-off for them, and they'll never get it all the way back. And who knows the impact it'll have on their family. You know, to a certain extent, I think that because of social media and these things going viral, I think oftentimes criminals get ideas from watching these videos. We get them so often, and you see these videos being posted by law enforcement, help us catch this individual. And they're like, hey, this person may have gone away with it. Maybe I could do it as well. And I think that contributes to us becoming, numb to these types of issues, to seeing them all the time.
I can just imagine his intake at jail and then getting into the general population, and everyone's like, you're that dude? Like, just laughing at him because the other inmates probably. We have to take our first break, 866-826-1340, and get into other things, more serious traumas that I would like to ask you some questions about, because I was asked some questions, and I'll explain in a minute. We'll be back in just a moment, so please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent
that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network. We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hello and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I am a licensed mental health counselor and I'm your host. And today we're talking about whether we're becoming numb to trauma and how it's traumatic to watch any of these things and to wonder if our children are safe going to the park unsupervised, no matter what age, because human trafficking is like to 19, 20, 25, I don't know. It's one of those worlds we live in where I'd love to send my son to sleepaway camp, summer camp, learn how to start a fire, carve wood, I don't know, whittle wood, whatever they do with those things, canoe. But then you hear about abuse and that kind of stuff in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and but so anyway, I'll go with you, Larry. What any things that you feel like?
I was doing some research, as I normally do. For those that don't know, not only am I a former paramedic and firefighter, I am currently a trainer, instructor for stopthebleed.org. So I teach people how to use tourniquets and chest seals and do bleeding control for violent critical incidents. I use the term violent critical incidents because the government is supposed to be switching from the term that we all hear, active shooter, hostile events. That's supposed to be switched out, because every incident that occurs where there's a mass casualty or some active threat does not involve firearms. And we know that, like what happened at the University of Idaho last year, where the 4 students were killed. They weren't killed with a firearm or an explosive. They were killed with a sharp-edged weapon, according to the reports. So I was pulling up some information, and the FBI has some great information. There's a good website called gunviolencearchive.org.
They were killed by, wait, I'm sorry, a sharp edge, like a
sharp-edged weapon. So
right. What do they call it? A knife, like a sheath, in jail when they make it themselves, and I can't.
Oh, a shank. Yeah, it could have been a shank. It could have been a knife. They just said a sharp-edged weapon. I mean, I got a metal ruler. This could be a sharp-edged weapon. It has a flat, nice edge on it. I can cut with this. So anything can be used as a weapon. People get hung up on firearms, and that's what gets the most attention, and that's the most utilized thing in terms of an inanimate object. But I always say violence starts up here in the mind. and you being a licensed mental health therapist, you know this all too well. And as you know, everything starts in your brain. Um, they're on the gunviolencearchive.org, or you can go to the FBI's website. They have some great information on there. And I was just pulling up some information from the FBI. They said that active shooter deaths, and we're just going to talk about firearms right now, and injuries reached a 5-year high. A 5-year high. They're saying that fatalities and active shooter incidents remain level in 2020 compared to previous years, but these injuries, because everybody's not dying from these active shooter events specifically, they're skyrocketing. And then they said 50 incidents that happened last year, where there was an incident with the shooter, and law enforcement arrived. 100 people were killed, 213 were wounded, despite a decrease in 18% of the incidents in the prior years. There were 103 deaths in 2021, 102 in 2019, 134 in 2017, but otherwise, no year has cracked 100 fatalities since 2000, according to the FBI's data. And the 213 wounded in 2020 far surpassed the 140 injuries in 2021. The 126 that happened in 2020 and 156 that happened in 2019. And in the last 23 years, only 2017 surpassed 2020's injury count, in large part due to the single shooting that happened at the Las Vegas Music Festival that left 58 dead and 489 wounded.
That was
489 wounded, 58 dead. So when we see these numbers and when we see these incidents happen, every single day, Tiffany and Albert, I get breaking news stories about these violent critical incidents. Every single day. There have been more violent critical incidents than days this year. We're only in June. And so when we look at this stuff, whether it's at a house of worship, a school, a business, an academic institution, a shopping mall, a grocery store, a concert venue, I always say it's not a matter of if, but when and where a violent incident is going to happen, just like an emergency.
Theater.
Yeah, anywhere. When it comes to trauma, two things people have to think about. Anybody can get it, and anybody can give it. It's not just about guns, folks.
No,
anything can be used as a weapon. And when we see traumas happen, whether it's an active shooter, whether it is someone using their car to commit a crime, whether it's a break-in, whether it's a domestic violence situation, intimate partner violence, whether we're talking about a rape, whether we're talking an incest, whether we're talking any type of adverse childhood experience or ACEs, that can happen to anybody. Anybody can get it and anybody can give it when it comes to trauma. And what we're talking about is people are becoming numb because it's becoming talked about more. We're seeing it in the media. We're seeing it in social media. More people are talking about mental health than have ever before, which is phenomenal. People like yourself, Tiffany, we need to give you your flowers for choosing your career to teach and help people overcome the traumas that they have. Same thing with you, Albert. You writing your story and writing your book and talking about your life, being a survivor of domestic violence. Your sister was a survivor of sexual violence. You talked about that here on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany before. And we want to continue to have these conversations because, again, nobody's immune. It doesn't matter what race, gender, creed, religious affiliation.
I was saying in the beginning,
it does not matter. That does not shield you.
Amazing professionals.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't.
I became a therapist because my parents died, and I saw how trauma could derail a teenager. Right.
Yes.
I luckily was raised right, so got back on track. But at the same time, these things happen where sometimes trauma, it changes somebody for the good. We're going to do good with it, kind of like Albert went through as well. What I'm doing, outreach, helping others, because I know what it feels like, and it's okay to not be okay, things like that. You're not alone. And the more we talk about things and feel like we're not alone, the healthier, and the more people can relate. And there's been so many times where I've heard, thank you for sharing your story, because I don't feel alone. With Albert, same thing. Sharing your story has helped so many people as well. But then there's some people that maybe put a box on their head because they've had it not so easy and go into a store and try to rob it because they choose to not share their story, not heal, not find a way to improve their situation or better their lives. And there's some mentality, as you were saying, LP, and it's a survivor role or a victim role. And you could be the victim and think that everyone owes you because you've had a crap upbringing or a crap time in life, and people owe you something, and woe is me, and whatever. And it causes people to act different, or to give up on others, or to not trust others, or not care about others, or have lack of empathy or lack of sympathy, things. Or survivor mode, get it together, you gotta take what's thrown at you, look it in the face, and tell it to go to hell, and try to get through it and learn how to help and do something with whatever, and think of it as a learning opportunity or something. And that's why you have that saying, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
Yes.
But not every predator becomes or not every victim becomes a predator. Not every person raised in a poor society or becomes a criminal. Not everybody does not everyone do these things. It's a choice.
I think at times though, people can benefit from a helping hand, and that's what we do on this show, is we try to help others through it. And one of the biggest things we could do to make sure that you don't put a box on your head and go rob a store is make sure that we take away some of the shame and the blame from sharing your story. Because I know that's one of the
So Albert, just I'm going to interject and please continue, but people have to be willing to accept the help and be willing to hear how to, and be willing to change. But please go on.
No, that's true. But I mean, trying to create an atmosphere or an environment where it is safe to disclose, where it is safe to share, I think is very important, because I know even for me, I wanted to do better. I wanted to get right. But there was always that fear of that other shoe dropping. Like, what will happen if I share? It's a really scary thing to put yourself out there and to be vulnerable and waiting for this negative backlash to come. So trying to create that safe place for people and give them the helping hand, I think is important, because anyone that's gone through one of these traumatic events, something has enabled them to get through it, right? They've survived. So if we can provide a nourishing environment, then they can go from surviving to thriving. But it's on us as a society to create that atmosphere, and making sure that we're not numb to trauma is one of the keys to doing it.
I love how you put the numb in there. Yeah. But yeah. And furthermore, also, that it's never too late to seek help, to try to get help for whatever traumatic experience you've been through, and that it's a fact that people have come to my office in their late 50s, 40s, 50s, and whatnot, and even older, and were molested as a child by their parents, or incestual stuff, raped, and never got help, and just said, I am tired of living like this. And
there are so many people. There are so many people that go through childhood trauma and they don't get any help. They don't get assistance. Maybe they want it, but they can't find it, or they're scared to reach out, or it's been indoctrinated within them that to keep the secrets, to keep it to yourself, is a sign of strength. And so then they choose self-medication, and they're on drugs or alcohol, and they may lose a decade or two of their life. And it's not until they start to address that and resolve the substance abuse, that they start to unpeel the layers of the trauma underneath.
But it's also undeserved shame and guilt.
Okay.
They feel like that it, some, I wrote a book on it. There's a light within you that never goes out. Self-help book. But with my research I've done, for the most part, it's undeserved shame, undeserved guilt, and feeling contaminated or dirty or some sort of stigma that they carry, that they're afraid of what people might look at them when they tell the truth to their best friend or their family or their parents or whatever, that they might view them differently because they were raped or molested as children or things like that. When, for the most part, when we tell our story and we share and we're transparent, people appreciate that more than if we try to act like we've got it all together. Oh my God, like I am so cool, and you just have to follow me because I know what I'm talking about. Like, those people annoy me. No, I'd rather the real people around me. We can learn from someone that you can tell that it's not trying to put on an act.
I would say that, in my experience, most people, when they think about EMS, they think, because you can break down 911 calls outside of a police matter. I'm just talking about from the EMS and fire perspective. 85% of your 911 calls outside of law enforcement are medical. And that's why fire departments are having those firefighters be cross-trained as, at minimum, EMTs. They prefer paramedics. And I always tell people, all paramedics are EMTs, but not all EMTs are paramedics. And when we're talking about the breakdown of the calls, you have your medical and your traumas. Your medicals are going to be treated different than your traumas in a lot of ways. Your traumas are your car accidents and your fires and gunshots and burns and different things like that. Your medicals are going to be your heart attacks and strokes and your diabetic issues and different things like that. I would say I would say about 40% of those medical calls are mental health related issues.
Of course.
Schizophrenic calls, your issues with people having some adverse issue with maybe mania, or they're having some emotional problem that's going on with them. We got called all the time for mental health related issues. And I didn't realize how much mental health was going to be part of my job. And that's part of the reason why Albert and I are doing the work that we're doing post active status, because we know that more and more of these traumas that people are talking about are not just physical traumas. There are these mental traumas. There are so many different things that, we don't have time to talk about in a 60-minute interview. However, people like Tiffany, who's a mental health counselor, can say, hey, you know what? I'm here. My information is available. There are mental health everywhere that you can think of. Your job offers employee assistance programs. A lot of times
so many that.
Yeah, a lot of times
we've done shows on that.
Yeah, a lot of times
and loyalty and everything to a company when they help assist with mental health problems, because most days missed of work are like because of mental health or marital problems or problems at home or family or grief and loss. Guys, we have to take a break.
Sure.
And then we have minimal time, so just letting you know now. I love my talkative guests, but when it comes down to the last 15 minutes, I just got to remind them we've got a short period of time left. But we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And How can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you missed any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And we're just wrapping up a show. We're just kind of touching base on, are we becoming numb to trauma, basically? Because there's been so much going on in the world lately, and I don't have to name it. In 2023, there's a war going on, like people trying to take over countries, it's like surreal a little bit, because didn't we already identify these borders, and now we have to redo the map and all the globes and everything has to. Just kidding. I don't know. It's just why there's not too much other stuff to worry about. But welcome back, Larry Penton and Albert Grieves, and their links and descriptions are down below. We're watching live on YouTube. If you want to watch any previous shows, Moments of Clarity with Tiffany on YouTube, or LinkedIn Live, or Facebook or Twitter, and as well as Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, all the podcast platforms as well. Anyway, what did you say in the private chat? So before we came back, I was kind of caught off guard because one of my guests just was like, so is this a joke? No. Okay, want to read it?
You talking about me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So where we left off talking about mental health, but I think because we are becoming numb to these issues because it happens so frequently and we make light of the situations, someone who is struggling with mental health may be deterred from speaking out because they fear that they'll be made fun of. So just because the sheer volume of these stories that come out and the way that we respond to them may prevent others from seeking help. Someone that may actually want to get help because we crack jokes and we make light of these situations. And so they are encouraged to keep it to themselves. They're discouraged from reaching out for help. So I think it's important to kind of make sure that we take away the desensitizing nature of social media and sharing these types of stories and say that there are real impacts to the individuals with it. And I know
I would like to say, because I was like, we didn't make fun of anybody except the dude that robbed the store with a cardboard box on his head. Like, other than that, we're not making fun of anyone or the stigma. That's what I was kind of confused when you said that led us to making fun of people. And I'm sorry, nothing mental health related, like a diagnosable thing, can lead to come from somebody robbing a store, besides sociopath or kind of behavior for trying to rob the store. But I don't know what kind of diagnosis covers putting a cardboard box on your head and then having it fall off and then your address being on the side of the box.
I got another story.
Diagnosis for that.
Before you do that, Larry,
go ahead.
So I'm speaking a little more on a serious nature. So I had recently did an interview with Unfiltered Stories, and they posted that video. And I was scared when it came out because I'm really disclosing a lot of stuff in a very vulnerable way on a very public forum. I've never in my life had a video go over 1 million views. That's just as mind-boggling to me. But if you click on the likes and comments, last I checked, there were a bunch of people that were laughing at it. And I don't know what about child abuse or homicide or anything is funny, but trying to see that type of stuff or comments where people are attacking someone making disclosure or questioning whether it actually occurred, those types of things will prevent someone from sharing their story. And in doing so, they will keep the secrets of the abuser. So I wasn't really making light of or comparing to the story with the guy with the box on their head, but I'm talking about some of the more serious issues where as a society, because we see it so much, we disbelieve or we may make fun of it or something like that.
I saw a story the other day and I shared it with Mrs. LP where there was a guy that pulled up to a drive-through window and tried to rob the drive-through with a rake. He took a rake and put it through the drive-through window and tried to take the donation box that they use to collect money for, special needs kids or differently able kids. I think it was a Dairy Queen. And I laughed when I first saw that. And I thought last night, I was like, that guy has some serious problems.
Right.
Way more than just needing money.
Right.
Way more than just, I don't think that this was a spur of the moment thing because nobody's really driving around with rakes unless you got a landscaping business or something like that. For him to get in his car, go to that restaurant with a drive-through, pull the rake out of the back of his car or truck or van or whatever, and take the rake. And I sat there and I asked my wife, I said, can you imagine if you were behind that guy and you saw him at the drive-through window and all you see, normally the food is being exchanged or drink or somebody's giving them their cash or their debit or credit card. Can you imagine the rake coming out of somebody's window, going into the drive-through window, and you see them fishing around trying to grab this box of money? I thought, yeah, we're really numb to trauma because so much of it is going on because you never saw stories like this before. I think with cameras, I think with social media, and I think with other formats, we're seeing not only more and more of these things where it's body cams or people, using their cell phones or what have you. But I also say that it shows you society and what's going on with society. If we think that mental health is not real, because you've heard me say this before, Albert, mental health crisis is the world's oldest continuous pandemic that's been around since the beginning of mankind, and it's not going anywhere, folks. We got to deal with the stigmas, the taboos, the stereotypes, and all of those things that go along with it.
I want to add to that, though.
Yes, sir.
What if that individual with the rake started hurting people? Like, if we see something like that, most people would probably grab out their camera or phone and they want to go live. Mm-hmm. But what if that guy with the rake that is not in his right mind started hurting other people? Just beyond himself, obviously, he has issues. What about physical harm that could come to other people because we're like, oh, I got to get this on video, right? And we're not responding properly as a society.
That's right. That's right. It's real, and I think we're becoming numb because, in part, we're seeing a lot of it. Talked about the, hey, I don't want to be breaking news. I don't want to be looked at as a laughing stock. I'll close with this, especially when it comes to men in mental health. and being numb to trauma. A lot of times men don't talk about their stuff, and I'm not going to curse because I know we're on the radio. Men don't like talking about their traumas because they don't want to be the laughing stock. I give you the example, Michael Jordan and Tyrese Gibson. You know, when Tyrese was on his IG Live and he was talking about the problems that he was having with the mother of his children. What happened? They made a meme of him crying. Same thing. And I know people give Will Smith flack for the slap that he did with Chris Rock. But I'm going to go back to the entanglement episode on the now canceled Red Table Talk, where they were talking about that whole episode. What happened with Will Smith? He was made into a crying meme. Same thing with Jordan. We're not even talking about a traumatic situation with Jordan. Jordan was at his enshrinement to be in the Hall of Fame. And what happened? The greatest night of his life was made into a crying meme. So if they can do that to these famous, wealthy men, what do you think will happen to me if something like that happens to me? Or Albert telling this story. Albert, you were interviewed talking about the worst things that happened to you, your sister being raped by your dad, and you all getting beaten on a regular basis. And you got people in the comments laughing and joking and LOLing and all that stuff.
I will say that it wasn't as much as I thought it would be, but that was one of my fears, is like this negative stuff. Like I'm being vulnerable and people are making fun of it. And I tell myself maybe they're unhealed or maybe they're the types of perpetrators out there causing the harm and stuff. But aside from that, I think what I took away the most from reading the thousands of comments is that there are so many people that have their own story and they're not ready to share yet. So I think, or I will see people that will say like, I'll never complain about my abuse again. And when I saw those comments, I tried to respond that, abuse is unique to each individual. It impacts each individual differently, and abuse is wrong no matter the degree. So we need to continue sharing the story, no matter how good or bad the situation may be, and not compare it, and make sure that we create an environment that's safe so we can know what the true numbers are. Because honestly, I don't think we know what the real numbers are. There are so many people that are shamed and afraid, maybe because we're numb to trauma, they don't want to talk about what's actually going on. And I think the more we can do to increase awareness and make it a safe place to talk about these things, the more we can realize how much there is so we can respond accordingly. Because right now, our response is lacking. We're after the fact with limited resources, and we see the result.
I will say this in closing. I want to give you the last word, Albert.
Okay.
I got 2 words for everybody. Seek help. There's so much help out here, whether you're talking about a Western medicine type of help. Don't leave out the metaphysical modalities. And I talk about that all the time on my podcast, which is called Trigger Warning Talk Podcast. And we're streaming on all platforms. We cover and highlight people that are professionals and non-professionals that help people overcome all of these traumas and more that we are talking about here on Moments of Clarity today, whether it's Reiki or CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, or EMDR, which is phenomenal for PTSD, hypnotherapy. There's so many modalities that can help people that are dealing with traumas. Seek help. Albert's got the last word.
I appreciate that. I will say that it is okay to speak up and to speak out, and I encourage you to do so. And it's not until you're able to do that that you can start to seek help. When you outwardly acknowledge that there's something to work through. I've been married for 18 years, and my wife didn't know all the details of my past. And it wasn't until this video recently came out that she actually saw some of what actually happened in my childhood. And she acknowledged that she tried to stray away from the details. And that was one of my biggest fears of disclosing, especially in a public way, is that my wife would find out. Maybe it will change our relationship in a negative way. The good news is that the world continued to turn. And she didn't take it in a negative way, and she's actually been very, very supportive. So if you have a loving, caring support network, I encourage you to speak up and to reach out and to seek different help. And, help may look like different ways and modalities for different people. Not one form of therapy works for everyone. But I encourage you to get curious and start exploring. Unburden yourself of what's going on with mental health or trauma, or whatever the case may be, and reach out and be open to that helping hand, the helping hand that we try to provide on the show.
That's it, folks. Thank you for joining us on Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, where we focus on ending the stigma on mental health. For Albert, I'm LP, and Tiffany Werner. Peace and blessings. Find somewhere to get trained on either stop the bleed or first aid and CPR, because the life you save may be your own as well as a stranger. LP out. Oh, I'm sorry, I was having some audio issues. Tune in every Friday from noon to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. And we have great content that we always provide to you all, great guests, and we're going to continue to focus on ending the stigma on mental health. Take it away, Ed. Fade to black.
They really like our show. I might have to tune in next week.